Hello there guys, in this video I'm going to talk you through how to answer questions that ask you to describe enlargements. So the first thing to mention is when you get given these questions, you will be asked to describe fully the single transformation that maps one shape onto another. Now there are a few things that you need to make sure you do when you get given these questions. First of all, it says fully. Now that means you have to give all the information that someone would require in order to correctly go from the original shape and draw the other one themselves. So you need to make sure you give them a full set of instructions. Secondly, it says single transformation. And one mistake that some people make sometimes is they come up with a way of getting from the original shape to the new image, but they do it in two stages. So they might do, for example, a rotation and then a reflection, rather than finding a way to do it in one. So if you do that, you automatically get no marks. So you have to find one transformation and then you have to describe it fully. The first mark will always be for saying which of the four transformations it is. So the four transformations are reflection, rotation, translation, and enlargement. And you must write one of those words down to begin with. You need to use that technical language. It gets very sad when people write turned or mirrored or moved, okay, because that isn't technically correct and you have to use the correct language in order to get that first mark. So if it's an enlargement, you will know probably more quickly than any of the others because the shape will generally have changed size. So looking at this one here, going from this shape to this shape, I can tell straight away it's an enlargement because it's changed size. So I'm going to write enlargement. The next thing you want to look at is how much of a difference that size is, okay, how big a change that is to find the scale factor. And what you want to do is find a length on your original shape and compare it to a length on the new shape. So always be careful to make sure you know which is the original and which is the new one, because it will affect what your scale factor is. So we're going from ABC onto A-B-C-. So this is our original, our object, and this is our image. Okay, so looking at the length of AB on our object, it's a length of 3. And on our image, it's a length of 6. Okay, so to go from our object to our image, we have to multiply by 2. So therefore, the scale factor is 2. The reason I say you need to be careful with whether you're going from one shape to the other or not is that if I wanted to go from this shape to this one, the scale factor would be 1/2 because you have to times 6 by 1/2 to get it to 3. So that's why it's important you get it the right way around. Otherwise, you'll end up with the reciprocal of the right answer rather than the right answer. So far I've got 2 out of 3 marks for this. I've got 1 mark for writing enlargement. I've got 1 mark for writing scale factor of 2. And the other thing I need to do is find the centre of enlargement. Now, the way to do this is to draw ray lines. So you're going to draw a line that goes through A-A and keeps going, B-B and keeps going. And if you want another one to check, you can also do the third point as well. And you should find all of those straight lines converge and meet at a point, and that point is going to be your centre of enlargement. Okay, so I've now drawn the ray lines on. So you can see if we go through the B's, through the C's, and through the A's, we end with all of our lines going through this point here. So that is our centre of enlargement, which is 3, 0. So I'm going to write centre 3, 0. And that gets me my third and final mark for this question. What I have provided here is enough information that if someone only had triangle ABC and you gave them that instruction, they would be able to do it and correctly get to the right answer. Okay, so three things you need to give for describing fully an enlargement. One thing that you can do if you want to check is you can think about the vectors. So you can think about the vector going from the centre to B, which is 3, 4, and then the vector going from here to the new B, which is 6, 8, and checking that that has doubled in line with the scale factor, but you don't have to if you're confident with using the ray lines. I'm now going to do a second example of this before I leave you. So for this one, we want to describe fully the single transformation that maps from this one onto this one, from ABC onto A-B-C-. So first of all, I can clearly see that the sizing is different, so I'm going to go for enlargement. I'm now going to compare two lengths, and I'm going to compare this nice vertical one here because it's easy to measure. That's a length of 3 on my object, my original image, my original picture, and I'm going to my image from A to C, so from A dash to C dash, that is a length of 6. Okay, so I'm looking like I've got a scale factor of 2. I actually don't, but you'll be forgiven for thinking that, and I'm going to write that down for the moment with just a little edit in a moment. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to draw my ray lines on. Okay, so I've drawn my ray lines. I've gone from A to A dash, from C to C dash, and from B to B dash. And you'll notice that all of my ray lines go through this point here. So that is the center of enlargement. And that is the coordinate 10, 4. Now, I've not got this right yet. I've got 2 out of 3 marks. I'm correct on the enlargement and I'm correct on the center, but I'm not yet correct on the scale factor. I'm very nearly there though. So if we look at the vectors for this, I'm going to go from my center, I'll call it X, from my center of enlargement to C, and then from my center of enlargement to new C, and see what my vectors are. Sorry, I've not quite got enough room to write it all on the one line. So from X to C, it's 2 across, 1 up, so 2, 1. And from X to C dash, it's 4 back and 2 down, so -4, -2. So what I'm thinking now is, what would I have to multiply this vector by to get to this one? Okay, and that will guarantee I get the right scale factor of enlargement. So from 2 to -4, I have to multiply by -2. And from 1 to -2, I have to multiply by -2. So the scale factor of enlargement here isn't 2, it's actually -2. Now, some of you might have known that because of the fact that the shape has ended up on the other side of the centre, and also because it's flipped over. So if you're happy that you can tell that just from those, you don't have to do the vectors, but the vectors are guaranteed to get you the right scale factor of enlargement. Okay, so we now have all 3 marks, but just to point out, you can't just go on the length of the lines. You also have to think about whether it's positive or negative, and you can tell that either by whether it's turned upside down and is on the other side of the center or not, and you can also do it by checking the vectors if you want to. Okay.